What's the name of the show? Are we going with Dill's Roundtable?
What's this?
Hello and welcome to Dill's Roundtable. I'm Dilruk Jayasinha. I am a comedian by trade, but comedy is also my obsession and passion. And each episode I like to discuss a different weird little stand-up topic. Today's panel, I wasn't sure which topic to go with, so we're going to go with both. We're going to talk about comedy camaraderie, which is a good alliteration, but also relocating for comedy. Panel of experts include Tim Hewitt, Ben Russell, Danielle Walker, and Sam Taunton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, one by one, let's go. Tim, you originally from
Brisbane.
Brisbane, and how long ago did you come to Australia?
To Australia. Yeah, I mean, we would like to think we're a separate country.
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah, 3
nearly
years
to
ago.
the day. Basically.
Really, to the day?
Basically.
Happy anniversary. Ben Russell, you've been all over the place.
I'm a man of the world.
Yeah.
American parents, born in Melbourne, grew up in Perth, moved to Chicago.
Born in Melbourne, did not know that.
Yeah, a little bit of Ben trivia.
Russell trivia.
Yeah.
Russell trivia.
Brussels trivia.
All
and
right.
then I moved back from Chicago to Melbourne about 3 and a bit years ago.
To the date, nearly. Happy anniversary. Danielle Walker,
2 years ago from Townsville.
Townsville, Queensland. And Sam Taunton,
So I've been in Melbourne for about 3 and a little bit years, but I'm originally from like the south coast of New South Wales
Yeah.
and Sydney.
Yep.
And
I've heard of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite nice this time of year. It's lovely. And then yeah,
what's the
Melbourne.
best thing about Sydney?
Oh, it's like the bridge is alright.
The bridge.
Have you seen it?
A bridge?
It's massive.
Which one?
Whereabouts is Sydney?
The Piedmont Bridge.
I heard Paul Hogan worked on that bridge.
The Piedmont Bridge
No, the big one.
in the 30s.
Yeah, man.
What?
Yeah,
Just
true.
upkeep.
I
He
don't
lived up
believe
there.
it.
They built it,
He
Yeah,
built the
well.
bridge.
apparently.
He
He
may
said,
as
that's
well
not a
have.
bridge, this is a bridge and built one.
Exactly.
What
you know
more can
it.
that man give to this country?
But you didn't, you moved to Melbourne not for comedy.
No, well, I feel like maybe it was always in the back of my mind, but I didn't
But
start.
that wasn't the reason for the move, though.
Like I always think I'm quite funny.
Comedy
Yeah.
is always in the back of Sam Taunton's
He's always
mind.
riffing, this guy.
You know, even when it's the most serious situation, comedy's always at the back of my mind.
Well, no, like
Do you sleep and dream comedy?
look, you don't.
Oh, we shared a bed in Perth together. And
Tell
let's
me
just
about
shared a
say,
bed.
let's
This
just
is not
say
a true
I'd-
story.
Tell me
No,
this,
I'd
tell me
wake
this.
up and I'd just hear him going, "Thanks for coming out." And thank you for supporting live comedy.
Yeah.
And then he'd come.
And well, look,
Is that his clothes at the show as well, or just while in bed?
don't give spoilers to my
Both.
No, I didn't come to do comedy, but once I got here, then I started.
You started. It was
Yeah.
you're sort of immersed in the scene in a way, like you sort of see the festivals. You said you went and watched a few festival
Yeah,
shows.
yeah, yeah. There was the first year I got here, I went and saw a bunch of festival shows,
Right.
and then built up the courage to
To finally do
To do-
Raw,
to
and
do
then you
comedy.
went to the national finals,
yeah.
and then afterwards picked to a Comedy Zone, which is where we had Jess Perkins on in one of the other episodes as well. Which is
Yeah,
very,
I did
very
it with
cool.
Jess.
With
Yeah.
Jess, yeah,
Yeah.
correct. D-Walks, you did comedy in Townsville,
Yep.
and someone
that
told you
was
to come.
different.
Yeah, how different is it?
It's like if you have anything that resembles a joke, they will laugh.
Okay.
They're so
Get me up
starved for- You do real
That'd be
well. Way better than you do
great
down
for my
here.
act.
As long as it resembles a joke.
Like I got a lot of setups. So
Yeah,
that'll be
yeah,
alright.
yeah.
There's a guy up there who does this bit where he's impersonating former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott.
Right.
And
Topical.
he does Tony Abbott doing the alphabet. And there's no jokes, he's just legitimately doing an accent
Wow.
while saying the alphabet.
I'm sold.
I mean,
What's
I'm
his name?
I'm not saying his
Kevin Rudd.
Yeah.
It's big.
That's good.
And so how long were you doing it in Townsville for?
like 5 months.
5 months.
Yeah.
And then 5 months of killing in a flat track.
Yeah.
Then you went, I need to challenge myself a bit more.
Yeah.
I'm moving to the big smoke.
Yeah, and then I did do Mad Dog comedy. My first
I was
ever
there.
gig in Melbourne.
I remember.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah,
my
yeah,
first
yeah.
ever gig.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in Melbourne.
I hosted the first gig, so it must have been at the
Oh,
Impi.
the
Real
Impy,
soon.
yeah, that was like my second ever gig in Melbourne. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
First timers.
Thank God.
How
And I
do
said,
you-
you fucking move out of this city.
It's nice to feel welcome in a new city.
There's only room for one Queensland comic.
You talk about how Queenslanders are rough, you fucking get out of here.
I was saying this before the mics got turned on. I always think of Tim Hewitt as a very energetic performer, but he's actually that's just on stage when he's quite subdued in real life.
Yeah.
And then we saw a bit
Cameras
of that.
are on.
Oh, man. Just fires
And
up.
action.
But how does that, like, I'm so scared about moving out of Melbourne to go anywhere else to do comedy, let alone from, like, Townsville. What's the population of Townsville?
Oh, like 190,000?
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
It's
bigger than
big enough.
Geelong.
I mean, but
Yeah.
still. But it was comedy. That was the reason.
Yeah.
What if you were shit? Like, it's worked out well for you. You're part of the Comedy Zone that's coming out, this year's Comedy Zone selection. You won Raw. You went to
Yeah.
Edinburgh and performed there. So you're good. We know that. But
Yeah.
what if you were shit and you moved?
I thought I was very good.
Yeah, you backed yourself.
Yeah, right.
One of my first, it was like my third ever joke. I wrote it and I was just like, I think I did it. I think that is the funniest bit anybody has ever or will ever write. I did it.
I'm moving to Melbourne.
And it was a bit about me riding a camel to climax.
Still
So,
good. I love that bit.
How long had you been doing comedy in Brisbane before you came to Melbourne?
Well, not very sporadically. It's hard. It's hard to gig there. And I think like the hardest thing was you have your own life set up, and sometimes it's tricky to sort of put that on hold to
In terms of work?
work,
We get
friends,
it. You got a lot of friends.
family.
Yeah.
And I'm the Prince of Brisbane. And so
Prince of Brisbane.
that's what.
That's what who says.
Mate,
Mum?
I just
Prince of
Look
Mate,
to
I
me, the Prince of Brisbane.
I just-
Prince, where's my Prince of Brisbane?
yeah.
Yeah.
So that was hard to leave. My
on.
mum it was very loving.
What were you doing in terms of work just before you left?
I just finished uni, so
Okay.
I was.
What did you major in? What's your major?
I did a business degree and a media degree.
All right.
Why are you laughing?
Because it's funny. He's got a tertiary education. What a loser.
And then I did. It's a good debt, and glad I did it. And then I did one day interning at a firm, and I was just looking at Excel spreadsheets and listening to 5 hours of radio to make sure they played the ads, and I was like,
Oh, right.
I don't reckon I want to do this.
Right.
Because if I stayed, I reckon I would.
So when you say sporadically doing gigs, how many are we talking? Like 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, maybe 2 years, but only.
Gig a week or gig a month?
Oh, gig every 2 months, maybe.
Right.
It was, and I was, I was dog shit when I moved here.
So you didn't write a joke and go, I've done it.
I've heard the stories.
It's been fun to see you have definitely gotten better since.
Well, yeah, again, in the same thing of Comedy Zone, you'd
hope.
Yeah.
you're going to be part of
That's
Comedy
good.
Zone next this festival with Danielle Walker as again the showcase of the top five up and comers from the festival is chosen. So that means obviously you're not dog shit anymore. But
I'll be doing my
They
original
gotta
jokes.
have one rough one
But
in
this
there.
is what you didn't feel that strong as a performer when you left, but you still had the courage. I mean,
I was pretty self-assured because I was like, I kind of moved to try and do acting as well, more than
okay.
comedy.
Because you're a beautiful boy.
Well, yeah, but then I started going to auditions. And seeing more handsome, more ripped versions of myself, and went, Hewitt,
Guilty.
you dog.
It's hard not to be self-assured as well when somebody's going, you're the prince. You do whatever you want. You look like a sweetie pie.
You're going to be such a big movie star. My little prince.
On your mum and dad, though, one of my favorite gigs I've ever done is a spot. I think I was hosting and you were doing a spot and your mum and dad were in the crowd. And I was just out of delight because you do material about them. And it was just so lovely for me to see them see you kill because it's like, hey, he's gone to Melbourne and he says he's doing comedy. I wonder how his life is going.
The Prince comes good.
The Prince, yeah, the King and Queen.
Yeah.
I was like, Your Highness.
We are honoured by our guest.
Mum did do this as she walked through. But, oh man, that was such a fun gig. And so they, what did they think of you doing stand-up?
I think they're coming around. Like they are very supportive people, but I think they just stress
Doing
about.
material about them?
Oh, they don't care.
They don't care?
I think they kind of find it funny.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Mum's always hearing about the latest thing from her friends or whatever that I'm doing. Or I don't know. It's good stuff.
They
It's
always in
pretty
the Melbourne
brutal,
audience.
but hey.
They always in the Melbourne audience.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
isn't reporting back.
I've met your mum, Tim, and I feel like she probably would have Melbourne spies that would like go to each gigs just to check up on you.
Just to make sure the boy's keeping the
Yeah,
prince.
because the prince is keeping good.
Yeah, he's like coming to America. The universe is offside. Someone's there.
He's always
is that what
safe.
you are?
Yeah, I'm on the
in your
payroll
home?
for Billy and Don, and that's why I live with him. So at any point, I've got to protect him.
Yeah.
You're his protector.
He's my leash.
I met your mum in regional WA.
Yeah, in Albany.
In Albany.
And yeah.
What? No, finish your sentence.
No, I think that she just was like, I met that.
What's your mic?
Sorry, I met that man. He's very funny. I thought he was very. He's the, he's lovely man. What was his name? Is it a weird name? Trying not to say.
She was trying not to say brown.
Yeah.
Or fat.
Yeah. She was being polite.
Well dressed, none of that, no?
He was very well dressed. He had great jokes. I loved that.
But I was surprised because she did have an American accent. I was like, you are not Ben Russell's mother. But then turns out, yes, they're both American.
They're both Texan.
Crazy. And so when you moved to America, were either of them there or you moved on your own?
In fact, all of our family is in Texas, bar like a distant relative, like a cousin sick twice removed or something. So I just went to Chicago and called
For
up.
UCB?
UCB's in New York and LA. I went to Second City in IO.
Second City, sorry.
Just to go to a different.
For those people who don't know what Second City is,
It's a sketch company, basically.
the alumni is like Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert. Who
a lot
else?
of people.
A lot of
John, the Belushi, the good one. Mari.
Mario Belushi.
Mari Belushi. So John Belushi.
Yeah, but it's like saying there's like a a bad
Like saying there's a
Belushi.
bad dad.
Yeah, so I'm about to say.
You're right. I'm sorry. Sorry, Jim. I met Jim actually. He's
Did
very
you?
nice. Yeah, he's a very nice man.
But the move, that trip to America was to pursue acting and comedy
Yeah. I mean, I was doing comedy in
in Perth.
Perth, and it was kind of in that golden age where like Xavier and Mike G and Conway and all those guys were there. So
The
we
Golden
kind of
Boys,
yeah, the
as
golden
they're known of. The
we're the
Golden
golden
Boys
boys
of
of Perth. And then I was like, I'm gonna go and live in somewhere else.
There's too many Golden Boys.
Too many golden
How do
boys
you
in one
shine?
place. How do they shine? How are you supposed to shine out of all that glitter? But
So you went to America?
yeah, so I
And
went-
how
No
common-
Golden Boys in America.
No, it's a star for entertainment over
Yeah.
there. Apparently, it's a dead scene.
yeah. I
And
just went for part adventure, part because it was a big comedy town.
to Chicago. And did you do stand up or just improv?
Yeah, I did stand up. I mean, improv and sketch dominate the landscape in Chicago. But there are like the Laugh Factories there, and they got like good open mic rooms and stuff like that. you know.
I mean, there's so many like there's a Pete Holmes, Hannibal Buress, they're
Yeah.
all Chicago
Carl
people.
Coon.
Yeah, there's a
Carl
big-
He's
Coon,
from Chicago.
It's still pretty
Kumail
strong.
Nanjiani.
Yeah, yeah.
Huge. But
And a lot of those like you do stand up on like sketch showcases and stuff like that. So you're doing stand up alongside sketch and improv.
do you find that there's there's more strength depending on which scene you're playing, where like say on a night where there's sketch comedy as well as stand up, that your character based stand up goes better, or worse?
I don't know. I don't think it matters. I think the main like American Chicago audiences were very different than the ones that you have here anyway. So over there,
In what way?
Americans go to a show wanting to see a great show. They clap beforehand. They do that clap together and the lights go on and they go woo and they get excited. American excited.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than an American getting excited. They're just like, yeah! They're just having the time of their lives. I'm an American. Yes. They're just so excitable, and so
Whereas
they
in
go there wanting to see a show. Whereas in here, they go wanting to see a show, but also, if you show a sign of weakness, they'll destroy you.
Yeah.
But also, but it's that thing as well as if you're an Aussie and you're too excited about something, it's like, calm down,
Yeah.
man. It's
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there's a bit of. You, Sam, you went to Malaysia to do stand-up. Was that the first time you performed? You did Malaysia, Singapore?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did Hong Kong, Malaysia, and Singapore.
Yeah.
And then went back to Malaysia to do it
Right.
again, like 3 months later.
Yeah.
Because it was great.
How did you find taking the Aussie, like predominantly, like exclusively performing in Australia and then going?
Yeah, well,
to-
I was like absolutely like shitting myself because I didn't know how it would go. You know, I struggle in Australia. Like,
All right, let's get all everyone's shit jokes out of the way. We're all shit, yes. All right.
like let
now,
alone having to
given
go
that-
to let alone having to go to another country to do it, and countries that might not necessarily even speak English as a first language, but like I found that the gigs were great. I think like if something's funny, it's quite universally funny.
Right.
The reference things are the real things you've got to change.
You
up.
can't use Andrew Dado jokes there.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the
Right.
biggest crime of comedy that you can't do a dado jokes around the world.
What's the Frankston of Singapore?
If you've I did have Frankston of Singapore, everyone's loaded in Singapore. But yeah, it's that kind of thing. But like, also a lot of the gigs that I did were like were quite like there was probably 50% expats as well, probably like Australian. Americans, Canadians, UK people. So like a lot of those things still a lot of things still related. And then
Right.
a lot of the locals that would come were still so kind of cultured and into, I guess maybe like stand-up comedy that they watch
Yeah,
in
I
America
think
or
with-
maybe in Europe, and so they came out. So it was kind of like the Hong Kong gigs that I did were like as good as doing the best red hot gigs in Australia.
In Australia, right. So and all you had to change was just the references.
Oh no, there were bits that just didn't work. Like, but like I said, that's a lot of my bits anyway. There were the first few times I did. It was a real kind of like you go, okay, cool. So that's different. A few kind of cultural.
Do you
things.
remember what? I'm actually genuinely curious.
Well, I got a bit. Oh god, this is real.
Without having
inside
to
baseball.
go into, yeah.
Well, there was just.
We should call this show Inside Baseball.
Yeah.
That'll do.
Well, I got this little tambourine bit that I do sometimes.
So cute when he puts it that way, isn't it? I got this little tambourine.
It's about a woman playing a tambourine at a concert I went to, a Fleetwood Mac concert.
Yeah.
And in Australia, it's like that's so ridiculous that someone would bring their own tambourine.
Whereas in Hong Kong, they
Yeah,
show
Hong
up to
Kong, they're
gigs
like,
with
fuck yeah, bring a
tambourines.
tambourine, because that'll make the show better. So I remember doing that, and everyone's like, yeah, what's the fucking problem with the tambourine? And I'm like, comparing taking a tambourine to like ISIS-level terrorism. So,
Right.
yeah, so I remember that bit like had to get cut, and then...
It was
but-
not the ISIS part that was the worrying bit, it was the
No,
tambourine.
they were on board. They started clapping at that, which I was quite concerned with.
They just pulled out their tambourines.
Yeah. No, so there were things like that, but for the most part, I found it to be like it was a great learning experience. And you've done gigs, in Southeast Asia as well. Like you would experience like this same kind of thing, where it's like you change it up, but at the same time, you still find that the core funny things are generally
One of
funny.
the hardest things I found was, I think, even though it may not necessarily be constantly referenced, a lot of my material is as a fish out of water kind of situation.
Yeah,
A brown
totally,
guy in
yeah.
a majority white country. So then all of a sudden going to Malaysia where everyone's just multicultural and going, yeah, we lived it all our life. What else have you got? It's
Yeah,
like,
but I found
all
like
right,
when I
I
went...
shit my pants once. Oh yeah, we've all done that.
But I found when I went to Malaysia, I thought all of a sudden got that thing where it was like, oh, cool, I'm a white guy. I can tell you what I like about Malaysia. Like,
Asians.
Yeah. And people were like, oh, cool, this is a different perspective. So I think it was kind of a benefit for me, at least. What are you laughing at? I was talking about my
From
craft.
where I see them.
Are the crowds up for it though? Like they're like.
Oh yeah, totally.
Lovely.
Like really excited, like really up for it. Not for me, for everyone.
No,
No, but like crazy into it, and like that's what I was saying. Like I was quite worried that they wouldn't even understand, like because stand-up is quite new in Asia.
right.
But
It's
so I was
still an
kinda-
exciting prospect.
Yeah,
Like
and
I found a lot of the crowd work that the MC would do is what audiences here might cringe about, going, oh, I can't believe they're doing that shtick. But it's like, because it's such a new scene,
Yeah.
it's like, there are differences between men and women. We never thought about that.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, it was grandma the whole time.
Yeah,
The whole
yeah.
time it was grandma. So
Yeah.
it's like,
I was jerking off on the bus.
Yeah.
It's like, all right,
Go
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. D-Wox, when you came here, did you feel that people were welcoming, or did you feel that people can be standoffish?
It was hard because I didn't know anybody, but people were real nice to me when I came.
Okay.
Hewitt gave me my first ever book gig.
Really?
Yeah.
that's all right.
What were you booking?
like-
what
Yeah.
was
It
that?
was a way-
I used to run a little gig called Gig Pigs.
The prince is good to his people.
Yeah.
How was I? Was I
His
nice to you?
subjects.
Yeah, I didn't meet you for a
I
while.
can be a bit of a fuckhead.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
mean.
Ben scared
Did
me.
punch me.
Oh, really? No.
You just
I'm a nice
flinched when he
man.
moved towards you.
Really?
You've been known to punch people, Ben Russell.
I'm a big puncher. I'm punchy. I'm punchy.
Yeah,
I'm not afraid to say it.
Punchy comic.
If only he was on the stage.
Oh, I've got my punches coming.
What about for you when you came from Brisbane? Did you have people like not necessarily going to go, oh, you're from Queensland, are you?
Yeah, like you get a lot of, I think someone moving interstate into, especially for me, like I'm starting flat open mic with no rep or whatever. You're very, I mean, it changes very quickly, but it's a bit like, oh yeah? How many gigs you done there? Like,
Yeah.
like people just want to know, are you worth me
Yeah.
doing? And I'm like, oh, I just bought everyone beers. I was like,
Those were the golden days.
When the Prince was...
The Prince was rich in coin.
the Prince's purse is a bit smaller these days.
the pauper of Melbourne, Prince of Brisbane. I remember talking to you very early on, and you had a lot of... I remember liking you because you had a lot of self-awareness that most... What I thought was a very new comic that I was surprised you had it. I didn't realize you'd come... You're like, yeah, man, I'm not going to ask for a gig at such and such room because I know where I'm at. I'm like, oh, cool. This guy gets it. He gets
I would
it.
have
He
killed for
knows
some of
that
that.
shit. No.
Just
He
me,
knows his
just
fucking dog shit.
people just saying hi and me going, I'm a little dog. I'm a dog. Don't look at me.
But yeah, people weren't... I mean, did you...
Sorry. I'm a little dog. Hi, man. How are you? Oh, shut up. I'm a
Not
little...
worthy, I'm a dog.
I'm a dirty little pooch. Oh, so I'm a bit of bad boy.
Princess fall from
Classic.
grace.
Well, that's it,
But then eventually, so obviously people, then you started getting good. Did you feel there was a change? Were there people who were rude to you when you started off and then started to be a bit nicer and then you moving up the royalty?
Maybe, but that's probably just more of a get to know you thing. Like
Oh, okay.
that's more of a, maybe you just see each other at gigs more and then it's like, oh, it kind of does. Because, you know, there's so many people when you go to an open mic room and it's so many like, yeah, man, oh, it's good to see you again. It's like, it's like someone that does
Yeah.
a gig a month and it's like, oh, sorry, man. There's just a lot of open micers.
There's so many.
You were a friendly boy.
I try to be. I think for me it was because I found I love stand-up, but I found it quite intimidating. Not just the performing itself, because I was dog shit. I was like, anyone who gave me a gig, I'm like, oh, thank you. You are doing me a favor. Like, you literally threw me a bone. Not literally, but you feel like they're doing. So I try to make, especially I think in comedy, we can sometimes be a bit circle jerky. Like, you, especially at the back of the room, we're all
Absolutely.
people
Let's
are
get it
mates. And then, round table.
We're in a round table. Dill's round table. Let's do it.
But it can be a very close group environment sometimes where we're all hanging shit on each other or whatever, and it can be intimidating for someone who's quite literally outside the circle. So I try my best to make someone at least know that, hey, you're still another comic on the lineup and you deserve as much, to feel comfortable. Especially some, like, if I think of Spleen, very popular gig, the backstage was very narrow.
It's a nightmare.
And it can be, it can be
Intense.
quite intimidating because the crowd's really good and you want to do well and you're a new comic, you just don't want to bomb at Spleen. And then you just have, like, you fuckhead, here again. Like, oh, I want to be called a fuckhead.
Yeah.
So I try to make
Highest
it.
honour.
Yeah.
You were the first person I saw when I got back.
When you came back to Australia, did you find that, because you were doing a lot of improv and sketch, and then there's not that much in Australia, it was like, I'm going to just have to do stand-up? Because I feel like you don't get to do as much as that anymore, and you
Absolutely.
studied and trained it. Like,
Yeah, it was kind of heartbreaking when you come back after spending 5 years, so much money, and like doing such exciting things over there, and just come back and it's like, there's nothing.
There's nothing. Yeah, totally.
Would you try and run your own sketch? I've always thought about running my own sketch comedy night because it's the only type of comedy I don't do. And if I ran my normal gig, I would book myself every time.
Do you do,
know what I mean?
do you do improv?
I did improv. I did. I tried everything. Sketch is the only
that's
thing I
great.
couldn't do. I tried improv. I tried prop comedy, which I'm actually not. I'm quite skinny. This is just a suit.
yeah,
you
right.
know? I'm a white guy who's skinny. I put on a fat suit and browned up.
Yeah, totally.
But I always thought about running a sketch comedy night because that way I can just sit back and actually enjoy book acts that I want to watch and not have to put my. I can like my ego's out the door. I don't have to book myself.
Yeah, except I think running a room is one of the most thankless, hardest jobs that you
Yeah.
can do in this
Yeah.
industry. I think that it's like, I'd never want it to do it. So I was kind of like, do I make something or do I just start making my own work? Just making your own work.
How do you
I don't
do
really
that?
want to put in other time to that stuff. Creating something that I don't.
Speaking of camaraderie, so you work a lot with Xavier, who we've had on the show as well. Do
Yeah.
you find that helpful, being to have something, like you struggle, like as Sam was asking, in terms of not being able to do sketch and improv as much, then finding someone else who might have the same problem, joining forces?
Yeah, definitely. Finding like-minded people and just doing that. And by getting into the comedy scene here, especially in Melbourne, is what the sketch and improv scene is over in Chicago. It's all dominating. It's so huge. It's everything.
Yeah.
But so it's where all the creative people go to. So if you want to create something and you want to find funny, creative people, the stand-up scene in Melbourne is like the best.
Thank you very much, guys, for coming along. Don't forget Channel 31's on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and the Channel 31 app. My festival show, The Art of the Deal, is at the Comedy Festival, Melbourne Comedy Festival, Canberra, March 24th, and Sydney Comedy Festival, May 22nd at the Giant Dwarf. Thank you, guys. It was good comedy camaraderie, and I'm glad you guys relocated.
I am as well. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Or your close friend.
Yeah, we still wanted to have the last word.
No,
Oh, I thought you were throwing it out to us.
no, I don't even get to the chance where I said you guys live together.
Are they doing a fade out now as we sort of do a little talk?
maybe that's what we're doing.
Can we have
Yeah.
a circle jerk as it fades out?
Just all fades out.
We were just going,
You better be good with your hands.
yeah.
I think that's it.